Hello, my name is Anthony Beckett. Thank you for the applause and entrance. This is my product, Markify, the best way to improve classroom accessibility and engagement. The journey started a little over 2 years ago. I was sitting in my algebra math class sophomore year, teachers at the front of the room, writing the notes out as students were copying those notes down onto our note sheet when for the 100th time, problem struck, and I'm sure many of you here will relate. The teacher erased the board before I had all the notes written down. And I began wondering, over 60% of schools have a one-to-one computer program. I'm sure many of you are familiar. Why can't I take that board and stream it real time to all of the students' devices, their phones, their Chromebooks, let them see that teacher's board on their own screen where they can zoom in and go back to any portion that they may have missed. As time went on, this became not only an accessibility tool, but a collaborative gateway that allowed teachers to create collaborative assignments where it's not just the teacher lecturing, but it's the teacher facilitating, and it's the students that are doing the real teaching in the classroom. Now, I could sit up here and give you a whole spiel about it and show you some cool images or something, but I was thinking we actually go into Markify right now and take a look at it and let you tell me if it's more engaging or not. And so this is Markify when I open it up, and a big, really nice portion of it is I can actually remotely control the lesson from a tablet and go anywhere in the classroom. But I'm going to come down here and I have a very simple collaborative activity that I have a few volunteers over here helping me on. What was your best experience at the Uncharted Learning National Summit? And you're going to see that they're able to bring out sticky notes. They're able to collaborate on this board in real time. Pizza. And I, as the teacher, can see this. I can go to it. One very cool thing is I can actually give feedback to students. So I just click on here, and I just gave a thumbs up here to Barbara Joins. So I can get that student feedback in real time, keep up with my class, and do a collaborative activity. Now you're probably thinking, Anthony, this is amazing. I would love to stream the board around the room. How much does it cost, right? Because it's probably going to be expensive to have 30 students all seeing this board up close. Well, I'm happy to announce that Markify is actually completely 100% free for teachers to use in their classroom. There's no limited usage. It's unlimited. They can upload documents. They can share it with the whole room. There's no member limit. It is completely free for teachers to use. Now, schools and districts wanting to take it to the next level, they can upgrade to the paid plan. It's going to be $1,000 to $4,000 based on the school size, and that's going to get them support and training, professional development sessions, along with more administrator settings to tailor Markify's experience to their class. Now, the COGS is always interesting for a software as a service product, I'll give that, but I like to look at it on a per class basis. It's going to be about 5 cents to 20 cents per classroom that uses Markify, and that comes based on, is that teacher giving editor to all the students? Are they only giving it to some, or are they just using it for an accessibility tool? We also have the customer acquisition cost based on that server price. It's going to be about $30 to $100 per school to get them to go from that free to that paid plan. Now let's go on. Let's look at the key performance indicators and a little bit of history about Markify. It started out, and I really was asking this question those 2 years ago, could a tech tool be a key part of how teachers teach on a daily basis? Not just pull out the Chromebooks once a month, but actually every single day they could use those computers. And I'm happy to report that during this prototype stage, teachers used Markify an average of 6.5 hours a day, 4 out of 5 days a week. And I interviewed these teachers, I talked with them, and they all reported that engagement levels skyrocketed in their classroom because those students weren't just sitting there watching, they were actually a part of that lesson. They were too busy to be on their phone. Now going into the future, going into the present here, we're really looking at not just the collaboration, but how can that teacher maintain control? And I'm going to show you a bit of that in a second. So I kind of asked the question here, do tools designed for reducing collaborative chaos drive results and boost usage? And currently I have 4 school districts deployed, 900 plus signups from teachers, and 17,000 in revenue. So I'd say it's been pretty successful overall, and this is only 7 months in of actually rolling it out. Going into the future, I'm going to use the buzzword AI. The goal is really to take insights from these lessons. If we're going to have a class of 20, 30 students all on the board, we can actually get a lot of analytical data from that. For example, imagine kind of like a heat map that tells the teacher, hey, this is where students are getting stuck, by looking at their screen and following along and saying, oh, that student couldn't solve this problem, or they spent a long time on this problem. And so I'm really looking to see, could I get data from those student devices and then give not just teachers, but the administrators feedback and insights into how that class is going. Now, I'm sure many of you out there have seen and heard of familiar whiteboarding tools. I did not invent the whiteboarding tool, but I did like to credit that I invented the collaborative tool for the classroom. Markify is 100% built for teachers only, not for businesses, and it is the best experience by far. And so, for instance here, in Markify, you don't actually give editor to all your students at once. You're not going to have 30 students on this board deleting everything. You can actually go, hey, does anyone want to answer the question? And then they can raise their hand, and you're going to see I get notified on here, and there's a little 1 up there by members, and that tells me somebody's raised their hand to answer the question. And with one button press, I can give them editor, and then they can go and answer the question here. There you go. Now, I think I know what a lot of you are thinking. Anthony, what happens when I have that student that's a little bit naughty, not up to pace with my lesson? What happens if they do something inappropriate here? What happens if they're not up, not on task? Dr. Qualls, I know the other competitors are poop, but that's not quite what I meant. So I can actually click on this and see, oh, Dr. Qualls made this annotation. I can see what each student made and when they made it, and that's a very key part. And I can actually go delete that, and then with one button press, remove his editor. So only him, he's put in timeout essentially, and when he wants to actually get back to pace with the lesson, I can give him editor back. And so you can see how that would work. And so going kind of back to these key performance indicators, these are kind of the 3 KPIs I look at: the monthly active user count, the revenue, and then the net revenue. Right now, I'd not say that we're net profitable, but we're going to get there. And you can see between Q2, but mainly Q3, that's when school districts do a lot of their purchasing over the summer. And you can see that spike here. I just got a quote put together for $15,000 for a local school district. And so this is really being rolled out. This is being used by real teachers. And you can see that monthly active user count of teachers steadily going up. And I'm hoping early next year that we can start getting that net profitability. Now, these amazing results have come from an amazing team. I might be the solo person up here, but I've had amazing help from hundreds of mentors and several students. Colt King really helps with training and onboarding. He's gone out to teachers and been in their class and helped them get up to pace with Markify. And you can see they're coming in and giving themselves some credit here. I also have Jackson, and Jackson's an amazing cinematographer. He's helped create testimonial videos, and now is helping to create tutorial videos to help onboard new teachers. Also, like I said, I've had hundreds of teacher mentors. I've probably talked to over 500 teachers at this point, building Markify, going out to edtech conferences, and really driving this. And they have helped so much. But I would really like to shout out Dr. Qualls. He has 20+ years in education, and he's gone all the way from a teacher to a principal to now a CTE director, and he's given a lot of input there. We also have Clay Banks, who's a co-founder of 8 companies. He's really helped with the business side. So what I want to drive home is that I have the development experience, but Markify also has the education and business experience, which I'd say is a pretty good trifecta there. There's also over 20 schools that have helped pilot Markify and try it out in their classrooms. And this amazing team has had some amazing accomplishments. Going back to 2022, that was the Markify prototype. Very early on, I was like, why are no teachers using this? And they're like, is it FERPA approved? Is it COPA approved? No, it's not. And that's when I kind of went and started building the role. This is when I started really going and building out Markify, but also properly encrypting data, securing it. And I was able to get FERPA and COPA approved. And my school district, which you can see pictured, they actually approved it and started rolling it out. That's when we go into early 2024 with the pilot test, very successful. To now, those schools that were piloting it are going to the paid customers with, once again, $17,000 in revenue. And so finishing this off is, of course, the investment ask. Over the past year, I've gone to over 5 conferences. These are 3 I went to with their ticket price. It is very expensive. Now, being a student, I had my ways to kind of get in with the crowd, but now that I'm actually graduated and an adult, I'm looking to continue going to those conferences as it's been very successful for getting Markify out there. We can also see developing features. I'm putting out about 10,000. I'd like to bring on a person or 2 to kind of help with that commission and get more features added. And then, of course, we're going to have the server cost. And so I'm asking today for $25,000 to continue this mission and really get Markify out over the course of the next school year. But thank you. I'd like to really thank the entrepreneur system in my school, the EIC, along with all of you for being here today. It's safe to say that I would not have something like this if it wasn't for that. A coding class doesn't teach you how to make this. An entrepreneur class does. And that's why I'm so thankful for Incubator and all the things it's been able to provide throughout the past few years. So thank you.
Anthony. Man, what a presentation, man.
Thank you.
From the stats, the resources, how you present yourself, how you come up, everything about it is amazing. So I want to give you credit because it's really amazing to see that. And I want to take out some of the stats and all that, and I want to ask you personally, right? As you're looking at Markify and you're looking at scaling, you're here competing against other entrepreneurs. I know you talked about how we were in the algebra class, and it's like, man, I wish I could, get those notes. But what's really for you, right? When you talk about your why, and as you're doing this, and you're thinking, okay, now you're graduated, you're looking at doing next steps. What's that why for you? Like, why are you going to conferences? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's a long story, to be honest. I'll need more than 5 minutes. But I think a lot of it goes back. I was always a tech person, right? So when I was 3 years old, the story I always tell is I would flip over laundry baskets, put my toys underneath, and say, that's an air conditioner right there for my playhouse. And so I was always a tech person, but never really a business person. And so going into high school, it was something I'm going to grow up and be a software engineer. I'm going to maybe a product manager, but it wasn't something where I was really thinking about it. But I also wasn't in education at all, right? Like I didn't really care that much about education the first few years of my high school. But I realized it is such an open market, edtech. There are so many products that are absorbently priced, that are kind of pretty hard to use. And that's kind of what the buildup was. Obviously, I had computers in my classroom, and that's really what the buildup was these tools are not that great. Could I do better? And then eventually, like I said, I mentioned the math class. And I went, all right, that's it. I've at least got to try and see if I can do something better. And I think I did a pretty good job at it compared to what's out there on the market. But the why for me is being able to do something that helps people. I'm an impact person. I tried to make a social media platform prior to Markify. Did not feel very rewarded from it. So where being able to go in, I mean, there was this amazing young lady in a class that was super smart, like 35 ACT. But she was so shy that she skipped class half the days. And the teacher was telling me she tried Markify in her classroom, told that student about it. The student was able to, behind the comfort of her screen, contribute to that lesson. She didn't have to get at the front of the room and write it. She could write it on her Chromebook. She felt safe, and she was able to go to that classroom the rest of the school year. And this teacher said that it completely changed her to the point she was willing to work with students. She was willing to get up and defend her answers by the end of the year. And so hearing stories like that, that is the impact. That is what drives me, and that's what keeps Markify going.
Wow, you are a business person. This is like over the top great. So you developed this?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to college?
So I deferred a year because school districts are buying it. I'm kind of like, I need to be there to do that onboarding.
You might want to defer a lifetime. Like, whatever you do, like, I'm really glad to see your heart's in this. There's all kinds of questions about the business model that I don't even feel is like a relevant question now because you're going to figure it out. It's very obvious you're going to figure it out. So, hey, there's no comments here besides, maybe a little bit around how you're patenting this or how it could be just copied, and is this really going to be the winner of this category? Is going to be the best seller to the schools, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, so I've actually been in talks with a patent attorney. I've been researching it a lot. Unfortunately, you can't patent an idea, and you can't just throw a patent on it and have protection. And so a lot of Markify is just a software app that someone could make, but as I mentioned earlier, it's very expensive a lot of the time to take, say, one screen and stream that real time to 30 screens. So I actually had a major breakthrough. I built all of the infrastructure for Markify myself, and that infrastructure is about 1/5 of the cost of the industry-leading solution. So I'm currently looking, could I get a patent on that where at least someone else is going to have a much harder time at doing that scale affordably?
So just as Michael said, almost more of a comment than a question, but great job. You're obviously extremely bright. I was going to ask if I could hire you earlier, but there's no way I could afford you.
You could invest.
I think we should just drop the mic on that. But I was going to ask you about IP, but here's my question. The data that you're collecting and the administrators can leverage to improve their teaching experience, that's above anything I think we've talked about. That's an amazing tool that you could provide to school districts as well. What's your comment on that?
Well, like I said, right now I charge for the training because I think every teacher should have the tools they need in their classroom. I think a whiteboard's essential, and if that could be better where maybe a student that has an eyesight disability, maybe they can see the board up close now. I want that to be freely available. But I do think long-term training and that kind of model isn't going to be very sustainable if it got larger. So I'm wanting to think, how can I add more features that a school district might be interested in purchasing? So I kind of look at insights as that thing that, if a school wants it, they can purchase that. That's an additional thing that helps fund Markify while keeping the essential core tool free for anyone to integrate in their classroom. Thank you so much.